Welcome back to Everyday Tech Explained. Today, we're diving into the world of used electric vehicles, more specifically the Tesla Model 3, and we're going to be using a long-term review from The Independent to to kind of help us understand what it's really like to own one. Oh, and hey, we're at 49 subscribers, so hit that like and subscribe button to help us reach 50 a month.
What's really fascinating about this is that we're not just looking at like a shiny new car, we're looking at one that someone has really put through its paces. 24,000 miles to be exact. And they're reporting back on all the things you'd actually care about if you were thinking of buying used.
Exactly. So the Independent's electric vehicle editor, he actually bought a used Model 3 through Tesla's certified pre-owned program. So it's had all the checks, comes with warranties.
Yeah.
And in this case, he even arrived in what his wife thought was brand new condition.
Yeah, that certified pre-owned program is a really interesting development in the used EV market because it helps address one of the biggest concerns people have when buying used electric, which is the battery.
Okay, so let's talk battery life then. After 24,000 miles, how did this Model 3's battery hold up?
Pretty darn well, actually. The reviewer was still getting close to the original claimed range of 360 miles, especially in like mixed driving conditions. He even did a 250-mile trip and still had plenty of range to spare.
So that addresses one worry. But what about the tech? A used Tesla still comes with all the bells and whistles, right?
Absolutely. And this particular Model 3 came with enhanced Autopilot, which is a pretty big deal. It's a semi-autonomous driving system that can do things like lane keeping, adaptive cruise control, and even suggest and execute safe lane changes.
Wait, so the car can basically drive itself on the highway?
Well, not quite. It's designed to assist the driver, not completely replace them. The reviewer said you still need to be attentive and ready to take over if needed, but he was really impressed with how well it worked, especially for long journeys.
He did mention having to wiggle the steering wheel now and then to remind the system he was still there, almost like a digital high five.
Right. It's a reminder that this is still technology in development. But even so, features like this can make driving less stressful, especially on longer trips.
Okay, so the battery seems to be holding up well. The tech is pretty impressive. But what about the actual driving experience?
This is where it gets really interesting. The reviewer loved the Model 3's acceleration and just how responsive it felt to drive. He also talked about a feature called one-pedal driving.
One-pedal driving, what's that all about?
Essentially, you control the car's speed mostly with just the accelerator pedal. So when you lift off the accelerator, the car starts to slow down significantly. Using regenerative braking to recapture energy, it takes some getting used to, but it can make driving smoother and even more efficient.
So it's like having an extra brake pedal, but it also helps you save energy. I can see why people would love that. But was there anything about the driving experience that the reviewer didn't like?
He did mention that the ride could feel a bit stiff, especially in the back seats, so that's something to keep in mind if you frequently have passengers.
That makes sense. Comfort is definitely important.
He also praised the spacious interior and the minimalist design, and he specifically called out the large front windscreen, saying it gave a fantastic sense of visibility. Even small details like that can make a big difference in how much you enjoy driving a car.
Yeah, it's those little things you know that can really make or break the experience.
And speaking of experience, the reviewer also had some interesting insights into what it was like to actually buy a used Tesla through this program.
Oh, that's right. He mentioned it was surprisingly similar to buying a new one. You can choose from cars in stock all over the country, test drive them, and even have the car delivered right to your door.
Exactly. And that's a big shift from the traditional used car buying experience, which can often feel a bit, well, shady.
Yeah, no one wants to end up with a lemon. But it sounds like Tesla's really trying to create a more premium experience, even for used cars.
That seems to be their goal. They're offering peace of mind with those inspections and warranties, and they're making the process itself more convenient and transparent.
So we've talked about the battery, the tech, the driving experience, and even the buying process. But this is just one person's experience, right?
Of course. And it's important to remember that every used car is different. Even if it's the same model, there are always going to be variations in condition mileage and how well the previous owner took care of it.
That's a good point. So what should someone do if they're seriously considering a used Tesla Model 3? Or any used EV for that matter?
Well, first and foremost, do your research. Look for reviews from reputable sources, not just one single article. Get a sense of the car's overall reliability, any common issues to watch out for, and what kind of maintenance it might require.
And I imagine understanding the battery is key, right? knowing how much life it has left, and what a replacement might cost down the line.
Absolutely. Battery technology is constantly improving, but it's still a major component to consider when buying any used EV. And don't forget to factor in things like charging infrastructure in your area. If you don't have easy access to chargers at home or work, it might not be the right time for you to make the switch.
So it's not just about the car itself, it's about your lifestyle and whether an EV actually fits into it.
Exactly. And if you're still unsure after all your research, it's always a good idea to get a pre-purchase inspection from a qualified mechanic who specializes in electric vehicles. They can give you a detailed assessment of the car's condition and spot any potential problems that might not be obvious to the untrained eye.
That's great advice. It's better to be safe than sorry, especially when you're making a big investment like buying a car.
And remember, the used EV market is still relatively new and evolving rapidly. What might be a good deal today could be different tomorrow.
So staying informed is crucial. But beyond just this one model, what does this whole trend towards used EVs mean in the bigger picture?
Well, I think it's potentially huge. As more people buy new EVs, the used market is going to explode, making them more accessible to a wider range of buyers.
And that's a good thing, right? It helps accelerate the shift to sustainable transportation.
Absolutely. But it also brings some challenges. The infrastructure for servicing and repairing used EVs might not be as developed as it is for gasoline cars.
Yeah.
And there are still questions around battery longevity and disposal.
So it's exciting, but we need to be prepared for those challenges too.
Exactly. It's not all sunshine and roses, but it's a fascinating time to be following the EV market.
Okay, so back to our used Tesla Model 3. What are some key takeaways for our listeners, based on what we've learned from the Independence Review?
Well, first off, even after 24,000 miles, a used Tesla can still deliver impressive range and performance. That battery anxiety many people feel about EVs, it might not be as big of an issue as you think, especially with the certified pre-owned program.
And even though full self-driving isn't quite a reality yet, features like enhanced autopilot can make driving a lot less stressful.
But always remember that driver assistance systems are just that, systems to assist. You still need to be a responsible driver and be ready to take over if needed. Don't rely on the tech to do all the work for you.
That's a good point. And while the Model 3 offers a lot, it's important to weigh the pros and cons against your individual needs and budget. Don't just jump into it because it sounds cool.
Do your research. Consider your driving habits and lifestyle. And if you're serious, get that pre-purchase inspection. It could save you a lot of headaches down the road.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. It really is a game changer when you think about how more accessible EVs could become. But let's bring it back to you, the listener. If you were considering a used Model 3, what would be your biggest concern?
For me, it would definitely be the battery. It's the heart of any EV. And replacing it can be a major expense, so I'd want to make sure I fully understood the battery's condition, how much life it had left, and what kind of warranty coverage was included.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it sounds like Tesla's certified pre-owned program tries to address that concern with their inspections and warranties.
Exactly. But even with those safeguards, I'd still want to do my due diligence. I'd research the typical lifespan of a Model 3 battery, look into the cost of replacement, and maybe even consider getting an independent battery assessment before making a purchase.
So peace of mind comes from being informed. And that goes for any used EV, not just a Tesla.
Absolutely. It's crucial to be an educated consumer, especially in a market that's evolving as rapidly as this one. Technology is constantly changing, prices are fluctuating, and new models are hitting the market all the time.
So what's the best way for our listeners to stay on top of all this? Are there any resources you recommend?
Well, there are some great websites and online forums dedicated to EVs, where you can find reviews, comparisons, and real-world experiences from other owners. And of course, publications like The Independent, which we've been discussing today, are valuable sources of information.
And don't forget about YouTube. There are tons of channels dedicated to electric vehicles, with everything from in-depth reviews to DIY maintenance tips.
Yeah, it's amazing how much information is out there if you know where to look. But the key is to be discerning. Not every source is created equal. So look for reputable outlets with a track record of accuracy and unbiased reporting.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. If you're unsure about something, reach out to an expert. Or join an online community where you can tap into the collective knowledge of other EV enthusiasts.
Exactly. The EV community is incredibly welcoming and supportive. People are generally happy to share their experiences and help others navigate this exciting new world of electric mobility.
Well said. This has been Everyday Tech Explained. We hope you found our deep dive into the world of the used Tesla Model 3 informative and helpful.
And hopefully it's given you some food for thought as you consider your own journey towards a more sustainable future.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world of everyday tech. And let us know in the comments what tech topics you'd like us to explore next. Thanks for listening.